It came folded in a torn notebook page. No address, no stamp. Just a child's handwriting. Mr. President, my brother is sick. There's no water in our village. The school is gone. Our clinic too, but I'm still learning with old books. Signed, Fatima, age 10. No one filed it, but one man read it and didn't forget. The letter didn't go to a minister. It didn't become a headline. It fell from Traoré's briefcase onto his desk. He picked it up, circled the village's name. No press release, no convoy. Just one quiet decision. We go now. No orders, no noise. Only a promise. To a girl he'd never met. The road to Saran wasn't on most maps, but Dust knew. The sun burned. Fields were empty. At the village, faces held years of silence. He stepped out alone. No guards, no cameras. Just a shovel in the trunk and a notebook in his coat. She came walking barefoot, braids undone, voice steady. You're the president? I am. I thought you were taller. He smiled. I'm taller when you're hopeful. Fatima showed him the dried-out well, then pointed to the cracked clinic wall. This is where my brother coughed. Until he slept. He turned to the villagers. We drill today, not tomorrow. Not after permits. The children stared. The men didn't believe it. Until trucks arrived and machines roared. The ground opened. Hope surfaced. If one girl's voice can move a country, imagine what yours can do. Subscribe now. Let's make silence loud together. He stayed. Under the sun, in the dust, he carried pipes. Shared his food, wiped a child's tear. Fatima never left his side. Do presidents sweat? Only when they care. He watched the drill, praying for water. Not for headlines, but for Fatima's brother. Sleeping under a torn blanket. The village held its breath. Hours passed. Then a spray. Mud turned to mist. Children screamed. Women dropped to their knees. And Traoré closed his eyes, because this sound was louder than any applause he'd ever heard. He sat beside Fatima's brother, held his tiny hand. Will the water fix him? It will help. And the clinic? We'll build it too. And school? One stone at a time. Fatima nodded, like someone who had waited too long to believe. That night, they cooked together. He ate from the same bowl. Children whispered stories. He told one back. About wells that found voices, buried deeper than stone. Fatima smiled. For the first time. Without guilt. Because hope felt like food that night. By morning, a foundation was dug, not just for water, but for school walls, a new clinic sketched in chalk. And on a wooden post, a flag. Painted by Fatima. Water, books, healing. 3 colors. One girl's dream. And Traoré? He just watched, quiet, full. The well flowed, but Traoré didn't leave. He walked house to house, listened, counted children, measured ruined walls, wrote notes by hand. A leader shouldn't guess what a village needs. He should ask. Fatima followed him, carrying the notebook. She was 10, but already leading. She showed him her books, worn, torn, missing covers. But every page was underlined, every line remembered. I study under the moonlight. Why? So I don't forget what school felt like. He said nothing, just handed her a new pen, and hope wrote itself. Workers came, stones stacked, desks arrived. The first wall stood tall. Children clapped. Fatima cried. I'll teach my brother to read. Traoré nodded. And maybe one day. You'll teach me too, she giggled. Not like a student. Like someone seen. The clinic rose faster. A nurse volunteered. A retired builder returned. The village moved like it remembered how to hope again. At night, they gathered near the well. And Traoré? He told stories, not of war, but of beginnings. One boy asked, "Why don't you live in a palace?" Traoré smiled. "What's a palace worth, if children sleep thirsty?" The boy said, "Can I live like you? Live better than me." "That's the plan." The fire crackled. The future listened. Fatima handed him a drawing. It was the well, a tree, and him holding her book. He stared at it long, then folded it into his coat. This means more than a medal. If you believe stories like this matter, drop it for Fatima in the comments. Let's fill this space with real reasons to care. He stayed one more week, helped plant trees, marked where the library would stand, asked every elder, what should the next president remember? They told him not policies, but names. He wrote every one, because memory was the foundation he trusted most. The clinic opened, not grand, but clean, safe. The nurse checked Fatima's brother. He'll be okay. The boy smiled. For the first time since fever took his sleep. And Traoré? He just watched, hand over his heart. A rain came, gentle, like blessing. Children ran through puddles. Fatima turned her face to the sky. It feels different now. Because it's yours, Traoré said, and that night, the village danced ... not for him, for themselves. He packed silently. Fatima stood by the well. Will you come back? End of the school year, report cards and oral exams. She gasped. Oral exams? Every child. She grinned. Then we better study. He walked away, and behind him, laughter, not silence. Traoré never said goodbye. He didn't like endings. He left before sunrise, leaving behind only a note. Study hard. Water the trees. I'll be back. Fatima found it under her book. She didn't cry. She just began to read again. Like a promise. The well was renamed. Not Traoré Well. Fatima insisted. Let's call it Hope. The villagers agreed, and every child
filled their cup like they were drinking the future.
And maybe they were. At the capital, they asked Traoré why he went. He replied, because no map shows what a letter from a child reveals. They didn't understand, but they wrote it down like it mattered. Maybe one day they'd read it again and feel it. In her rebuilt classroom, Fatima sat front row. The teacher asked, "Who's your favorite author?" She smiled. "I haven't met them yet, but I think they read my letter." Laughter rose, but the teacher just nodded. She knew. A reporter arrived in Saran. She asked Fatima, "What did the president say to you?" Fatima thought. He didn't say much. Then why do you talk about him? Because he listened. The reporter paused her pen. That was enough. Children began writing letters to other leaders, to each other, to the future. Fatima helped them spell words like clinic, well, and library. They called it the homework of hope. And for once, homework felt light. The trees began to grow, shadows returned, and so did dreams. Children played beneath them, singing, shouting, writing names in the dirt. Fatima wrote one name, larger than all, Traoré, then quickly erased it. Some heroes don't want monuments, only stories. A traveling librarian donated books. Fatima opened one. Science. Inside was a note. You'll need this for the oral exam. She laughed so loud, the nurse heard from the clinic. And that night, she read under moonlight, just in case. The teacher asked, "What will you be?" Fatima answered, "Not sure, but it'll involve water, words, and walls that won't fall again." The teacher blinked. That's 3 careers. I'll need all 3, if I want to lead like he did. Traoré received a package. Inside, a drawing from the village. A new flag design. A well, a book, and a clinic. 3 symbols. One girl's vision. He framed it quietly. Hung it in his home office, right above his desk. Right where he'd never forget what leadership really meant. A boy in the village fell while fetching water. Scraped his knee. The nurse patched it up. He smiled and said, "Tell the president I'm fine. But next time, add stairs." They all laughed. Because now, even pain felt safer. Then thirst. The chalkboard filled. So did the desks. More children came. From nearby villages, they shared books, stories, and lunch. Fatima organized everything, not as a leader, but as a girl, who once wrote a letter and watched it grow. Traoré sent a radio. Each morning, the village tuned in. Sometimes it played music, sometimes news. One day, his voice. "Drink deeply, learn fiercely. I haven't forgotten you." No one spoke. They just listened, like prayers. In reverse. A visiting doctor arrived, saw the clinic, the well, the books. "Who built all this?" they said. "We did. He just made us believe we could." She wrote that down and stayed longer than planned. One day, Fatima stopped by the clinic. Her brother was playing outside. Healthy, loud, alive, she whispered. "You almost didn't make it," he replied, "but you made it for me." And that was the first time she believed it. Traoré received a letter from Fatima. 3 words on the envelope were still studying. Inside, a photo of her class. Holding up notebooks, he smiled, placed it next to her old drawing. If stories like this fill you with hope, hit like, "Let the world know. Goodness still matters." Tourists passed nearby, heard the story, stopped in, brought pencils, notebooks, games, but the villagers offered them stories and tea, because generosity wasn't new, just finally flowing again. In the capital, they asked Traoré about foreign policy. He answered, "My priority is children who write letters no one reads." They laughed. He didn't, because those letters were blueprints. The village had a new rhythm: water at dawn, reading at noon, laughter at night. A new baby was born, named Ibrahim. The nurse smiled. The mother said, "Not because he's powerful, because he arrived when we needed him, without asking for anything." Fatima started writing stories, not letters, but dreams. She read them aloud under the tree where the school first began. Children clapped. Some asked for copies, but she said, "Stories aren't for keeping, they're for spreading, just like water." At night, old men played drums. The fire cracked. And someone would always ask, "Remember when the president came?" A pause. Then laughter. Then pride. Because that day had become more. Then memory. It was myth. Traoré read Fatima's latest note. A drawing of their new library. No windows yet, but full of readers. Books came. So did kids. He smiled. One day this girl will run the country. An aide laughed, but he didn't. A teacher from another village visited. She asked, "How did this happen?" Fatima walked her to the well, then the school, then the clinic. We wrote a letter, and he came. The teacher blinked. That simple? Fatima shrugged. That honest? The radio crackled one night. A voice came through. "I promised I'd return, and I will soon." Children screamed. Parents smiled. Fatima didn't say anything. She just opened her book and added one more page for what was coming. The nurse asked Fatima, "What will you do when he visits?" "I'll give him my report card and ask how his reading is going." They both laughed because now jokes weren't rare. They were ritual, like sunlight. Some tried to rename the school Traoré Academy, but Fatima said no, it's everyone's school, not his. He just helped us start it, and that's how the name stuck. Hope School. Simple. True. Enough. The well was painted again, this time with handprints. Every child, every age, even Fatima's brother, now taller, added his. He saved me, he whispered, and for once, his voice didn't shake. Traoré packed quietly, his bag small, his heart full. He looked at Fatima's latest photo and whispered, I'm coming. Hope, sharpen your pencils, because return wasn't a duty. It was a promise he intended to keep. In the village, word spread. He's coming. Children cleaned desks, painted walls, rehearsed answers. Fatima stood at the well, smiling softly. I hope he remembers what he said. The nurse asked, what did he say? That we'd all be tested. And they were ready. The sun rose early, so did the village. New clothes, braided hair, desks polished, books stacked, not for cameras, for someone they trusted. And at the edge of the hill, a dust cloud rose. He was here. He stepped out smiling. Children ran to him. Fatima held her notebook tight to her chest. Welcome back. Did you study? Every night, he looked around, the clinic, the trees, the school. It all stood taller. So did they. They gathered under the tree. Traoré pulled out a chair. Let's begin. Children raised hands. Some stumbled, some shined. He listened to every word. No interruptions, only smiles. Because learning was no longer survival. It was celebration. Fatima stood, read a full page, clear, proud, strong. When she finished, he clapped once. Everyone followed. He whispered, top of the class. She whispered back, you taught me that. Even though he never opened a book. Each child had a moment, and when it ended, he stood. This was the best report card I've ever seen. And your reward? A new shipment of books and a promise kept. They cheered. Fatima smiled. The future felt present. As he packed to leave, Fatima gave him one last letter. This time, don't wait. Write back. He laughed. Deal. If this story gave you hope, share it. Let more voices be heard. And never forget, sometimes the smallest letters carry the biggest change. The children chased his truck until the dust swallowed them. But their laughter lingered. He looked in the mirror, not at them. At the flag by the well, still waving, still watching, still worth every mile. In the Capitol, he framed the letter, hung it above his desk. And beneath it, a plaque, water, books, healing, 3 words. One village, one promise. Kept. Fatima wrote again. This year's class is bigger. We'll need more pencils and space. He replied with one line. I'm building you a roof, but the stars are still yours. One day, years later, a girl stood in front of her class, teaching. Same tree, same well, same dream. Her name, Fatima Traoré. Because sometimes you don't become someone great, you become the one who answered a small letter with everything.